Hey, I am a revision geek and I want you to come and join my revision geek world. Welcome to the Diaries of a Revision Geek. I cannot wait for you to watch these interviews. They are so super fun. I've got qualified accountants together talking about their revision journeys, the highs, the lows, the struggles, and all the things in between about how other people got their plaque up on the wall and how they got qualified. I've picked qualified accountants in my LinkedIn network on purpose to help and support you guys, to inspire and motivate you if you are on your accounting journey. Feel free to like and subscribe below for more. Just click on the icons and I will keep you up to date with the Diaries of a Revision Geek. Let's get started. In today's interview, we have me. Yes, I'm giving you my revision geek journey today. My recruitment consultant friend Ben is interviewing me as a revision geek today to help and support you, to get to know me a little bit more, learn a little bit more about my revision journey and how I became CIMA qualified. I'm sharing some of my secret highs and lows that I've not shared before. And Ben asks me some really fun revision geek questions throughout my journey too. Enjoy the interview. Let me know what you think. Well, welcome to the Diaries of a Revision Geek. Like I said, this week, I'm getting interviewed. Yes, me. I'm the revision geek this week, full on, 10 out of 10, turn up the volume. But instead of me just interviewing me, I thought it would be much better if my friend Ben, who's a classic recruitment agent, does this all the time, interviews everybody all the time, asks me my revision journey, talks me through my revision journey, asks me my questions. I have no idea what he's going to ask me. He doesn't know much about my revision journey either, so it's just going to be just a fun little chat on me as my revision geek today. So yeah, hi Ben.
Hello. Firstly, thanks for having me on, little legend. Thank you. I appreciate the invite. Nice intro as well, feel very important. Thank you. But yeah, so today it's really good because it's all about understanding that revision journey. And you know, given that we do accounting finance, a lot of people ask us these questions too. So although this is for you, it's really grateful because this will help our network as well. So thanks, Helen.
My audience would love this. Like, I'm putting it on for my qualifying audience to just realize that there's more than one exam journey out there. I talk about my revision journey all the time. Maybe we'll talk through some new things today. Definitely. But everyone's journey is different, but you can resonate with some of it. And I just want you to keep going, guys, because it's worth it. So listen to all the interviews, soak them up, take what the bits out you want from it.
And Helen, you're spot on, and because what we find as well, a lot of people don't know what it takes, or actually they're not too sure. And obviously, if you're not sure, you don't tend to look into these things. So this will be really useful for people to understand what it takes, what you did, like how important is it to do certain parts, like first time passes, all this sort of stuff. So if it's all right with you, let's just crack on. And I'm going to start off with probably quite an obvious question. Study wise, I feel like that piece of paper in a frame behind you is a bit of an indication, but just remind us. ACCA, CIMA.
So I am CIMA qualified. I took 6 years to get this plaque, but yes, this is my CIMA plaque. I have letters after my name and a plaque on my wall. Yes, CIMA for CIMA.
Awesome. All right. So, Helen, for those who don't know you, just remind us, when did you actually qualify? Like when, like roughly? I don't want to give away too much now, but you know.
I did my last exam in December 2012 and I got my plaque in February 2013, actually Valentine's Day, 14th of February. So that I don't care about Valentine's Day at all, but this is my qualified day, 14th of February 2013. Yeah, so 9 years ago, nearly 9 years ago.
Is it sad now when I think of Valentine's Day, I'll be thinking of your qualification? So you did your CIMA. So why? Why did you go, do you know what? I think I want to get a formal qualification because obviously I know a little bit, because I know it's not necessarily straightforward to get. So what made you go, yeah, let's do CIMA?
So I should put a little photo of my picture here. I show off my little picture when I was like 7 years old or something. You know, when you're a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be an accountant. I wanted to be. I dressed up like an accountant in my brown suit and my brown briefcase. Oh, no. And yeah, I just really loved, obviously I didn't really know what an accountant did, but I knew that they had a professional job. Everybody needed an accountant. They wore this posh suit kind of vibes, like they worked in an office. So yeah, I knew from a very early age, and I was good at maths and I enjoyed maths. Not that you have to, but numbers is a good thing to love, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so I followed that academically with my A-levels. I did a business studies degree, got a first-class business studies degree on purpose. I chose a general subject on purpose, and I got a first on purpose. And I just always knew I wanted to be CIMA. I had some... when I was doing my A-levels, I had some family friends who were like 5 years ahead of me, and they were at uni, and they gave me loads of great advice. Some of them were accountants, some of them were doing business studies. They actually sailed with me on my family boat and did races every weekend with us. But they just really wanted to help and support me, because I was like the little kid, everybody knew me in our sailing community. So they just really helped me, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll like take on board what you say for sure. So I did business studies, and I just knew CIMA was the role for me, for those letters after my name, for the kudos, for the respect, everything.
And it sounds like, one, you had a bit of a natural curiosity for numbers anyway. And again, but that you don't have to though, do you? That's interesting that you mentioned that. And then you went down the degree route. But I guess before getting to that, so you were like, I wanted to do CIMA, and there wasn't someone saying, oh, look, you have to do CIMA over ACCA, or this one's better than the other. It just felt naturally more aligned with what you enjoy doing, I guess, or what you think you could enjoy doing. Because I know at that age, you don't really know, do you?
Yeah, so this age I was about 18, 19, so that was like the year 2000.
Yeah.
And CIMA was, like I said, these guys who were helping me, these friends, family friends, they focused on the CIMA actually. So there was absolutely nothing wrong with ACCA. It just didn't really come up in our conversations. CIMA, there's not much difference between the two, but the only two differences I would say is CIMA was a little bit more leadership management role within a company, and ACCA could be more for accountant practices, tax, audit specialists. And I knew I wanted to work for a company. They worked for a company. My parents had always worked for companies, so I was still on that vibe instead of that traditional tax or audit accountant
stuff. So Helen, from your point of view, then it wasn't a case of where like your family were accountants, or your brothers or sisters or anyone like that. It's not like it was in the blood or anything like that. So you just, natural curiosity, obviously your family were, you know, in that office and business world that you're kind of keen to get into, and it just thought, actually, do you know what, let's do that CIMA and see how we get on.
Yeah, just definitely see how I get on. I did A-level accounting just to check that I was good at accounting, that I liked it, and I did. My parents were the first people in our family to go to university, like in the extended family tree. So I just followed that on. I really enjoyed the academics of it and learning business skills and commercial things and finance.
Yeah, just comes hand in hand, doesn't it, with that sort of stuff. So Helen, you've done your CIMA, went to uni, did your business degree. Did they say, well, did anyone kind of say what degree would be better than others? Because believe it or not, I went to uni, got a degree, but it hasn't been too useful in my recruitment career, but doesn't mean it's the case for accountants. What does it mean in terms of degrees? Because a lot of people, I think, assume that you should be doing like a finance one or like economics and stuff like that. What's your thoughts on that?
I did a business studies degree on purpose. Absolutely. These guys helped me and supported me through my choices, and they said do business studies because it's more general, it's more generic, just in case in 3 or 4 years time you don't want to be an accountant, you've still got a commercial base and you can learn lots of commercial businessy things, not just accounting and finance. So I honestly did that. All I chose was, I don't know how many modules a year I did, but I chose the finance modules, the ones that I could choose. So I made sure I had as much finance in my business degree as possible, but it was a business studies degree, and it opened me up to a little bit different thinking. I love the strategic management module, for example, and it just helped me be in my career, you know, like 10-20 years later, a strong finance manager. So it definitely helped me. That
business side, if it, like you say, it's a good point actually. I never considered that, because if you've got the finance side, obviously that's going to be helpful with that, but also particularly with CIMA, you might argue, is that actually having that business management side as well, it just gives you that that commercial edge, as well as knowing the nuts and bolts like you might perhaps assume with ACCA, or like it's more financial accounting, as you mentioned. So all right, cool. And I guess for people who don't know, like when it comes to being qualified, like I was going to ask you about your revision journey, like what it takes to get there. But before we do, can I just ask, like, how long does it take someone to typically qualify? Like, how does it work from that point of view? Because we see it from, some people can do it in 3-4. We hear people who spent their whole lives doing it.
So to be officially qualified with CIMA or ACCA, you have to have 36 months practical experience, which has to be signed off. So on paper, we say 3 years minimum. You can get through your exams in about 3 years, and then you need your practical experience as well. So my journey took me 6 years because I didn't pass all my exams, but we'll talk about that. So I think you could say between 3 and 10 years. Honestly, I coach students who have over 10 years it takes, but roughly I would say 5 years. If you wanted to plan it in now, 5 years is a good aim. 3 to 5 years is a great aim. But yeah, you do see a few individuals on LinkedIn who have done it in 18 months. Okay, great. That is great. That's the theory, but there's practice that goes along with it as well. So yeah.
It's very interesting you say that, because we speak to a lot of people who are exam qualified. So on paper, they know their debits and credits, but when it comes to practical experience, which we all know is proof in the pudding, haven't got that element. And actually to kind of, for those who don't know, to get those letters, you need to have both sides by the sounds of things. So that's really helpful to share. So you mentioned that journey for you took about 6 years, give or take. Some of those exams not quite as went to plan. Like, just talk us a little bit about your revision journey and trying to balance that with all these other elements that you're trying to deal with as well, just normal life, socializing, working. Like, how just tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, I do talk about my revision journey a lot. And that's why I wanted to put on these interviews, because I just think it's such an important time. Like, it didn't just magically happen, and it took 6 years. I mean, that's a long time of your life to be not 100% focused on CIMA, but like it's there every single day. And from when you started, like, it's not a black cloud, but it's there. So you have to get it done, right? Yeah. Even if you're having a break, you're like, oh, I need to get back to it. So when I studied, we could only sit exams twice a year. I think it was May and November, certain week in May and certain week in November. So it was like, that was my opportunities to sit. I didn't have the flexible CIMA schedule that you do now, but that's another thing to discuss on another day. But that was my journey. Other video, isn't it? Yeah. And although I got a first-class business studies degree, I'm not an A-star, A kind of girl. I didn't get any A stars in my GCSEs or anything like that. I work hard and I put in a lot of time and effort. So the journey for me took a little bit longer because I didn't pass my exams. I put a lot of effort in. I had a really great finance career going through my 6-year journey. And so when I first started, I was working as an accounts assistant. And I had that job for about 3 years. So we were all studying. There was about 5 or 6 of us who were all the accountants, and we were all doing our CIMA. And they were passing, and I was not passing all the time. So yeah, thanks. And yeah, so the balance and juggle for me was that I just got married. I started my CIMA. I moved away. I moved to Yorkshire and lived near Leeds for 3 years. And I had a great job, and I was progressing really well in my job, but I was failing some of my exams, and I didn't quite get the revision balance right. I definitely got the stress balance wrong, as in, oh my gosh, all these things. I need to find some of my photos of my dining room, because when it was exam time, it's like notes, books everywhere.
Oh, no, not just everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. And they didn't serve me all the time, but yeah.
And Helen, thanks for sharing. I was just going to say, just again, going on a slight time, I know you said when you were doing it, you could only do 2 exams a year, which must have made it even harder. Because then, for example, if you did have a whoopsie and it didn't go to plan, you'd have to be a lot more patient than you have to be these days in comparison. Is that right?
So there was 2 sittings a year. You can do more than 1 exam in a sitting. So some of the times I did do that, and I failed 1 or 2 of them. So some years, not many years, but I would say I might have only passed 1 exam in a year, but I might have sat 4.
Yeah, I can with you.
3 or 4, something 1, 2, 3 or 4, something like that. But I might have only passed 1, or I'm sure some years, if I look back, and I didn't pass any in a whole year, because that's how many times I had to resit some of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what, Helen? From our side as well, from when we speak to people, it's really difficult, that journey, isn't it? Because it also depends on your personal situation. You know, you're relocating, like that's going to impact stuff. And I think people that we speak to anyway are sometimes really concerned if it takes longer. And actually, life does get in the way sometimes, and it can't be a 18 months with 36 months experience. You know, it's not possible sometimes. So it does take longer. And I guess it must have been challenging though, because I haven't sat exams in years now, but there's always, like you kind of alluded to earlier, that feeling of it kind of like just lingering a little bit, you know, just kind of hanging around. And that must be quite difficult. I suppose, like from your side, how did you keep like picking yourself back up again from those struggles?
Oh, it was so tough some days.
Crying, just crying.
Yeah, there was a lot of tears. There was. I'm a very determined lady, so I knew exactly what I was getting. I was never going to quit. I was never going to stop. But gets to a point where you're a bit like, well, I need to do something different, because I've done that exam 3 times and I'm still not passing. And obviously to sit an exam 3 times, that's a good 18 months of my revision journey for me. So I was like, we need to do something different. But it's hard to know what to do while you're in it, and while it's so busy. You know, like, I went to BPP, I went to a tuition provider and did classrooms, classroom learning. So I was like, oh, someone's teaching me. Well, I still don't I get it, or I can do it at work. Why can't I do it in my exam pressure? You just have to learn certain different ways and stuff. I mean, yeah, you do have life things going on. So it is a balance. You have to find the balance that works for you. Yeah.
So, Helen, the thing that I'm picking up is it's not an easy ride getting qualified. There's a lot to it. It's a bit of a roller coaster, and like you say, it can take different amount of time depending on the person and their situation. I guess from your point of view, then let's talk about the highs and the lows. Let's talk about the lows first. I always think it's interesting to talk about that, and then we can talk about some of the highs.
Yeah. It is an emotional roller coaster. It's absolutely worth it, but it's an emotional roller coaster while you're going through it. Right? Yeah. So I had many lows. Gosh, the biggest ones, I guess, like, because I said I sat sometimes in some sittings, I sat 2 exams at once, and that is really, really tough, right? Because there's twice as much to learn in the same space of time, and you've only got 24 hours in the day. And I sat 2 exams once, and I thought, I've done all right. Let's try and pass one of them, with my 50%. And I came out, I had to wait 12 weeks for my results at that point. So it was a long wait. Yeah. And I came out thinking, okay, hopefully I've at least passed one. And I failed both of them. But I didn't just fail. For like 50% was my pass mark, and I got 36% on both of them. On both of them, I was like, oh my God. And I had to go and tell my boss that, and it was just it wasn't a waste of 6 months, but it feels like it at the time. 36% is miles away from a pass. That was a low.
And I've got to ask you, when you shared the update with your line manager, what did they say?
I can't remember the exact thing, but I think I just had to spin it a little bit, I guess, because I was doing well at work. So it wasn't like they could see that, and they cared more about work probably than my CIMA exams, personally, for them and the company. So yeah, span it a little bit, but it is what it is. I mean, sorry, I got 36. I'm going to sit it again. This is my new plan. That I'm very structured. I knew what I was going to do next. So yeah, said sorry.
Yeah, well, and these things sometimes can't be happening. I was just wondering, like with that, if when people tell their line manager whether they're frustrated by it, because at the same time, like you say, you're doing the job's being done well, it's accurate. They've got no complaints from your work. So I was just wondering whether it caused any issues internally, or they're like, oh come on, we got a time frame we'd ideally want you to do this by, sort of thing. Or I guess it might be case by case.
Yeah, I didn't feel any pressure, except for one of the places I worked, they did pay for my study support. So obviously the rule is they pay for it. First time you pay for it, second, third, fourth. Okay, so obviously I had an investment I had to make for myself, but I was going to do that anyway because I want this plaque kind of thing. Yeah, they can't be too I don't think a manager should be too disappointed. I hate that word, but it's true. Like, it's my CIMA plaque. Yeah. I was doing a good job. Yeah, and
that's the thing. As long as the work hasn't been impacted, then I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I didn't. That was a genuine question. I genuinely didn't know the answer. So I guess give us another low then. So obviously coming back with 2 36s, probably isn't going to be helping your ego too much, or your confidence. What other I suppose on that roller coaster, what other lows have you been on, just to share with others? I won't twist the knife too much. We'll talk about some highs.
I'm going to tell you a really, really embarrassing low, because I think it's an important part. It's definitely an important part of my journey. Yeah. And like I said, I studied at BPP. We would have classroom sessions for the whole day. I think it was like 9 to 4:30 or something. And I had to take my annual leave out of my holiday entitlement to go to classes. Unless I went at the weekend, obviously. And sometimes I went for the weekday classes. So one of my lowest points, and this definitely happened more than once as well, was I use my break. I really make sure I would be away from the classroom and the screen so that I would have a break. And I didn't really like the classroom sessions. They just weren't really for me, but I knew I had to do them, and I knew that was the kind of smartest thing to do, and the teacher was teaching you it. But every break I was out on the BPP fire exit stairs in Leeds, and there was many tears. There was many tears on the fire exit steps in the Leeds building, for sure. I mean, if people saw me, I don't really care, but hopefully nobody really saw me. But yeah, like I just found it really tough, and I just found it was a very long day. I personally didn't like I had to take my annual leave, so I was like, oh, I should be on holiday instead, or enjoying myself, and I'm definitely not enjoying myself in this rubbish classroom.
This is not a holiday.
Yeah, and I just didn't get it, and I was like, how can I not get it? Like, yeah. It was a very frustrating time, and which led to a lot of emotions and a lot of stress because of the way I was learning. And luckily, guys, you don't have to learn in that way anymore. Which is lovely. So when I coach and support my students now, we just look at the variety of options out there and the variety that actually works for you. Classroom didn't really work for me, but that was my choice, and that was the only thing I really had at the time, 10 years ago.
That's a really good point, Helen, because actually people learn different ways as well, don't they? We like, some people are visual, some people like you say, office based, like go to do it in class, or they could do it remotely or whatever. So that's a really good point, actually. People learn differently.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be honest with that. That was a lot of lows for me, and that happened multiple times, but that doesn't have to happen anymore. This is the thing. So I want you to know that there's lots of learning styles to input the information and to learn it. You don't have to be sat crying so much like I was in the fire exit.
There's a revision buddy on standby, I guess. And I guess with that then, other than like just being proud of actually getting your qualification at the end of it, what's like the highs of going through the revision journey, not the end result? Like, what did you enjoy, if anything? Again, that's preloaded. You might have hated the whole 6 years, but was there any highs of that journey at all? It's easy to talk about the lows, but what went well?
Yeah, I definitely didn't hate the whole journey, but yeah, there's a certain piece of your personality that you have to just bring out and be determined and just be like, okay, I might not like it this month or this year, but I just keep going. My highs are obviously passing an exam is the highest, but I do talk about one of my favorite exams, which was for me was my strategic case study. It happened to be my last exam, but actually it was just the best exam. If you sit your CIMA now, you do 3 case studies, but I only had 1 opportunity, and I walked in knowing I could pass. I passed the exam, and I walked out knowing I had passed, and then I qualified because it happened to be my last exam. But the case study was like, and because all of the jigsaw pieces got put together, I had the light bulb moments. I understood that exam question, and I understood how to answer it. The case studies are a unique exam where they give you practical scenario, and you have to talk through what you would do, how you would do it. And obviously I was doing it at work at that level after 6 years as well, but I just knew what I was doing, and it felt so good when I was really prepared. And so that was a very good high for me. Another high I would probably honestly say on purpose as well. I'll tell you why I picked this as an answer. I did fail lots of my exams because sometimes work did come first and my career did progress. So I was very, very busy at some times, but then at some they were relocated again back after about 4 years of my journey. I relocated back down to the south, and I made a conscious choice to get a job that supported my CIMA so that I could finish my CIMA. It was a temp role. It was a 6-month, 9-month contract on purpose. So it was just 9 to 5. Did it suit my CV? No, not necessarily, but it made me finish my CIMA. So I did 3 exams in 9 months and I passed them. And I made sure that the job wasn't my priority for that period of time, and CIMA was, and it made a difference. Obviously I had a good job. I made sure it was good enough on my CV, and I worked hard 9 to 5, but that's it.
Yeah.
And then I studied at lunchtime, in the morning, after work, and it made a huge difference to my CIMA journey, and it helped me finish my CIMA journey. Then I got another job after.
That sounds like a winner. And I guess then you spoke about the lows, spoke about the highs. Do you think then, like, as that journey's gone along, would you say it's got easier? I say loosely. Would you say it's got easier or harder as that journey went?
Oh, definitely harder.
Or hard all the way through from start to finish?
They're definitely harder, yeah, because definitely harder because in real life, and because of your career, you're older, you have more to do. I had a lot more senior responsibilities in my career and expectations and longer working hours. So I had more to balance. And I just wanted it done as well. Like 6 years is like, after you failed, I think I did 18 exams, I only had to pass 10. That's how many times I failed and resat. You just want it over so that you can move on with your life as well, and just have those annual leave days all on for holidays instead.
Taking annual leave to do an exam doesn't, there's nothing holiday like about that. So it just goes to show though what goes into it, but at the same time how much it's paid off as well. And that's why I'm here to encourage people to finish what they started. And I know it's tough, and I know it might be long for some of you. Even if it's a 2-year journey, it's still tough for 2 years. But it really is worth it, guys. and like I say, I can vouch for you on that from our side, from seeing people who weren't qualified to who have become qualified and the benefits it's had. So yeah, spot on with you there, Helen. And I guess again, I might be asking quite a hard question here, but like, suppose whether you didn't have lots of, I know you had a few friends going through CIMA eventually, but like where you didn't have someone that, or you may have done, I'm not sure, like a big network of qualified people, that must also make it really hard to do it. Like for me, obviously where I speak to lots of accountants all the time, I understand the benefit of completing it and actually the rewards and how that can change a career and someone's life potentially actually, but like, that must be really hard to stay motivated without having that, I suppose, that foresight. Does that make sense?
I was fortunate in my career. I mean, I did work really hard in my career to surround myself with experts and strong accountants. So I didn't necessarily think, oh, just because my boss, who started at the same level as me 2 years later, is now my boss because he's qualified. I just took it more from, oh, I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. And I'm not going to feel even sadder just because he's there. He just happens to have had a different journey, but I can still do it. I was like, I can still do this. Personally, we don't need to go into loads of detail, but personally, my home life and my husband was not supportive. He didn't understand. He was one of those people who passed exams first time and thought they were easy. And I hate the word easy, but my CIMA pass marks 50%. He's like, well, it's only 50%. You must be able to do it. You must be able to get it. Why can't you get it? I was like, okay, well, try and do the exams. Like, there was a limited level of support for me at home, which did make it really hard for me, for sure. I didn't have a network at all. I didn't have any study buddies or anything like that. I just had my accounting team who were passing and just my self-belief in myself, knowing that it will happen. I pushed myself a lot. I just went inwards more and just be like, well, I can do it. I know maybe you don't think I can, husband, but I can do it. So I just did it. And
I think the other thing as well, Helen, and again, I might be reading wrong into this, but I got the impression actually from practically doing the job, you were very good. When it comes to academia and actually putting pen to paper, obviously that's very different. Like when I think about my school journey, I could talk about elements and I was articulate and I could explain them. But if someone put me in exam conditions, and it's a very different story. Do you think that makes a difference at all from your point of view? Because you sound like on the job great, but when it comes to the exam, obviously very challenging.
I wouldn't say I was bad at exams, and I definitely didn't feel the stress, but I definitely wasn't able to answer a direct question with a direct answer. And maybe I'm like that in real life as well. I like to waffle, I like to like chat, and maybe don't get to the point quick enough, for sure. I've been told that in some interviews through my career as well. You don't get to the point, Helen. I'm like, okay, well, I clearly don't on an exam either, because I'm not getting to the point to get the mark. But yeah, I work with lots of students now who I work with for exam techniques on purpose to help and support them through their challenge that they have. For example, some of my students have dyslexia, so I help them with different exam techniques, and they have a different exam day technique that we focus on. Yeah, just because you can't pass an exam, or you think you can't pass an exam, does not mean you don't deserve this plaque. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, actually. And I think it sounds like when it comes to exams, it sounds like it's hard work, and you're trying to balance that with everything else. I guess, like, once you've got your plaque now, you know, you're there proud with letters next to your name. Obviously, you know the benefit of getting qualified and what's come out the end of it. I guess for other people who might be watching this, what opportunities do you think have come about from getting qualified, if any? That was a preloaded question for me, like, if any opportunities.
Well, I guess I'd say, well, I knew that the progression wise that you would get in finance, it's a very typical finance triangle when you move up. Yeah. And money was a huge motivator for me. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be embarrassed by it either. I drive myself on money. I like a promotion. I worked in quite a few companies to build my way up the career ladder. Promotion was a huge thing for me. I got it, and I got some more, and I got some more. So when I qualified, I changed jobs in a completely different company within finance, but a different company, and I got a 34% pay rise, like boom, straight away.
Like that,
you take that, right?
Yeah, definitely take that. I have some as well while you're there, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, and I knew that there would be opportunities I didn't even know about, but just having that foundation, I class it as a foundational base of my finance career, to be able to jump from and to say yes to opportunities and just have that acumen behind my name. Like, yeah, I was one of the ones who got my business card in my new job with the letters after my name, which is longer than my name. I don't mind. I know some people don't like that. I loved it. I mean, I got a job with a front car park space and my own office and my own team, and that motivated and inspired me to become better and stronger for a company. Like, I like adding value to a company, and so I need to add value to myself first and just keep going.
Helen, so I guess with that said, then I suppose, what opportunities have come? Because you said it's a good foundation, so it's been useful to build on. Like, what benefits have you seen from it other than financials?
So when I got qualified, the CIMA team would send me qualified opportunities and emails, and to be like, oh, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? And for the ones that I liked, I said yes to. So in the last 10 years, I've been a finance governor, a local governor of 2 schools in the area, a secondary school and a junior school. On purpose, I got offered the voluntary opportunity, and I said yes. And because I've got my CIMA letters, I just had a stance within the government board to help and support them, make a difference. I also have been a mentor on the Girls Network, which is a charity as well, which is just the best charity ever. If you are a female, please volunteer for the Girls Network. And I went to work in a secondary school once a month to help and support GCSE students get through their exams or build their confidence. And girls need that, right? So being a qualified accountant and a finance manager could just help and support. So I've done that for a number of years. And now I'm running my business. So I mentored on the official CIMA program for about 5 years after I qualified as well, for free to CIMA students. And this is where my business has grown from. So now I help CIMA and ACCA students to get their plaque on the wall, because I can. So I run my own business now. Like, did CIMA teach me how to run a business? No, but CIMA gave me the confidence to know how to be a finance manager. And then I learned how to lead and manage. And now I'm running my business.
That sounds awesome. And I guess, like, the other thing that I would add, for what it's worth, is actually what it gives. And you've kind of said it there, to be fair. No, like, where you have the letters, I think it gives people the peace of mind that you do know your numbers. And it doesn't mean those who haven't got qualified are oblivious. But for example, in an interview situation from our side, obviously as recruiters, we see that businesses go, Helen's qualified, so like you said, that foundation is in place. Like she's already proven it, got the letters, so it definitely helps with reassuring people as well, in my experience. So there's lots of benefits, clearly, lots of benefits. But
we could have a separate conversation about QBEs and CIMA qualified, and I'm happy to do that in the future. Like, I've got my absolute personal opinion and professional opinion. I was talking to somebody the other day, I did a podcast for somebody else, and they asked a similar question, and we were talking about it's a standard, it's a recognized standard, guys. And I know if you're QBE, you'll be like, yeah, but I don't need it. That's okay. You think you don't, I know I do, and I know the rewards I've got. And it's just that professional, polite conversation, like, yeah, I'm CIMA qualified, so you don't even have to ask those questions about the foundation.
You're right, you're honestly. And again, it's like the QBE thing, like you said, that is another video altogether. But the truth is, a lot of these guys can do the same things, and actually their experience is perhaps relevant or even better in certain cases. But the difference is you always need to explain it. Whereas I think where it's recognised as CIMA or ACCA, it just does a lot of that talking, doesn't it? And it just kind of parks that conversation, and you can talk about the other stuff rather than trying to reaffirm that you know what you do know already from, what you would assume came with your CIMA, do you know?
And one of the opportunities is that, and I don't say this arrogantly, I just say it truthfully, most CIMA qualified, my experience, can move from companies and jobs, whereas QBEs fix themselves on only really understanding how that company does it. Whereas with my standard and my qualification, I don't understand how the company does it, I just understand how it should be done by anyone, and I can move that around, and I have moved that around. I've worked in a variety of industries on purpose to build my expertise and to grow my career, and I'm able to jump from one company to another and to another industry with my core, I kind of call it.
Yeah, do you know what, that's really interesting, because I suppose if you had two people with the same technical experience, but one had a qualification, one didn't, yes, they could both do all the same roles, but I would argue that one would have more opportunity than the other one, just purely because of that bit of paper to a certain degree.
And I would just politely argue that person who's QBE knows that job, that company very well, whereas I know that company and I know the theory. Yeah,
and the thing is as well, Helen, we see QBEs move from company to company, but the difference is they have less opportunity to a certain degree, because a lot of people go, well, I want that peace of mind that you have the letters and stuff. So it's really critical, and actually it can help a lot of frustration down the line, just being aware of some of this stuff. So I think this is going to help a lot of people listening to this. And I suppose with that said, and obviously you're the Revision Geek, I suppose what would seem quite a quaint way to kind of wrap this up, I suppose, is to ask from your point of view. And I'm sure, a lot of people have to get on the course to get all the tips, but I mean, what would you say is your number one, I suppose, revision tip, or the one thing that you just would stick with someone if they were going through this journey that you've done?
Oh, if I had to just give one.
Only one, I'm afraid, just one, only one. Make it a good one.
To get through your qualification and to get this plaque, the number one tip is to revise and practice in exam conditions. That's one thing that I do say all the time. I didn't do enough. I didn't have somebody politely helping me through my revision phase.
So mocks, Helen, sorry to interrupt, do little mock tests with yourself sort of thing. Do
little mocks, big mocks, all the practice questions in full exam conditions. No, I said I would be that person who'd be like, no, I'm not ready yet, or no, I don't want to yet, or no, I can't, I don't have enough time, or no, I'd rather do this and this. No, stop all that. Practice questions in full exam conditions. No notes, no looking at the answers, and to time. I say this all the time. It's so important. If I had done that more, honestly, I would have taken closer to 4 years than 6 years. 100% guarantee, yeah.
And do you think it's just because you'd be having a no nonsense chat with yourself, because you'd have your test and at the end of it it's either you did it or didn't pass, sort of thing, from a mock point of view, so you kind of can have an honest chat with yourself what you need to do? Why do you think that works so well for you?
Well, it didn't work so well, that's why I'm like, you have to do it, guys. But
moving forward it's worked with your clients, I should say. Sorry,
that's okay. No, and in hindsight, obviously I did have to make those tweaks and do it. It's become, the truthfully thing is that I was revising, but I wasn't 100% revising for the exam on exam day. I was doing lots of other things
Okay.
around it, but the exam on exam day is what you need to practice and practice and practice and practice.
Yeah.
Not, do I know this formula? No, you need to know how to answer the formula on exam day in the way it's asked on exam day.
That's a very good point. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. That's a really good point. Well, Helen, I suppose for those who are listening and watching, obviously there's loads of other tips you've got, but obviously they need to get in touch with you to kind of find out how they can help. But I just wanted to say thank you for letting us attend today. I feel like I've learned a lot as well. So yeah, just thank you very much, and keep sharing is all I'd say. All the tips are really useful. So anyone who's not following, make sure they are.
Thanks, Ben. It's been really fun. I mean, I could talk about my revision journey. There's so much more we could say, right? But yeah, no, thank you for interviewing me, for being a kind interviewer.
Like we said, we could do a series. We could do like Star Wars when it comes to this, but let's start them off easy with this stuff. So it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you, Ben.